What's up, y'all? Sparta here. So, what I want to do is I want to talk about the Note 10. And I want to do it because, it's been nearly a year since I've gotten this phone. So, in 3 months, it's been a year. So, I do want to talk about it. And I'm not going to really touch on like the battery issues and stuff like that because I've touched on that before that I've had with this phone. So, let me just put those aside and just talk about my experience with the phone overall and why I really do still like this phone. It's just a bummer that I have the issue that I have with it, right? So when the Note 10 was first announced, and if you've watched my channel, you've obviously seen this on my channel where I've said, what exactly did I say? Let me go down and look. Because it's been a bit since it's been a bit since I looked at it. So let me go into this here. Note 10. How Samsung failed the power user. That's what I called it. And honestly, with this particular version of the phone, this particular Note, right? The regular Note 10, I do feel they did still, but it's like the phone is still ample, right? It still has ample power. 8 gigs of RAM, 256 gigs of UFS 3.0 storage, a 3500 milliamp hour battery made by LG. There's a lot of things, right? There's a lot of things in this phone where they've done a really good job. Very fast, not nearly as fast as like dash charging, but really good fast charging. There's a lot of things about this phone that I really do enjoy. So let me get into those first. The display is really nice. It's a 1080p display. That's one of the things that a lot of people didn't like and probably that they took that they took out and that a lot of people didn't like. I also didn't like it at the time, but over the time using it and getting used to, not getting used to it because there really wasn't that big of a difference, honestly. It's just more that you get $1,000 phone, you expect specs to match, right? And seeing as it's slightly taller than the Note 9 in 2018, it was kind of weird to be like, okay, 3,500 milliamp hour battery, no micro SD card expansion, a 1080p display, like all this stuff that's just like not, it's really uncharacteristic of a Note phone. And it was kind of something that a lot of people didn't like and why a lot of people just went to the Note 10 Plus. And it just sucks. Other than that, though, it's like, it's pretty much a Note through and through for a lot of the things that the phone has. Like, it still has your S Pen, obviously. Still has your Samsung features. It still has, like, Pen Up. It has all the air commands, air gestures. The S Pen is still really good. It's a Bluetooth device now, so you can use it to, like, take pictures, like, as a shutter to take pictures and stuff like that. That's really nice. There's a lot of good things about this. It does have 4K 60 frames per second recording, which is also good, but it's only for 5 minutes. It now has a pro video mode, which is actually pretty nice. It doesn't have certain features that say, I personally feel the king of manual video is LG, where you get like you get focus peaking. You don't get a wind noise filter. You don't get any sort of like mic control. It just keeps you with, at least let me double check. Nope, you don't get any sort of mic mode. And on LG, you go into manual video, you get the mic right there. So you don't get that. When you start recording, you don't get the opportunity to adjust ISO or shutter speed. There's a lot of stuff that you can't do, which is kind of weird because it's not a limitation of the chipset. Definitely, you don't get the you aren't able to 4K 60 frames per second recording that and also have stabilized video on, whereas on the G8, which has the same chipset, you can. Like, there's a lot of stuff that isn't there that I don't get, but nonetheless, they're not really there to boast about video. They want to talk about the photos, right? And for me, the photos, the camera in terms of photos is still top notch, right? I don't necessarily think that you don't need that gimmicky sensor that the like the space zoom sensor that the S20 has. I don't really think you need that, because at the end of the day, it's just gimmicks. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, this is so mind blowing. Why you need this? You don't need it. You may want it, but you don't need it. And it's like, it's something that I feel is kind of whack, because it's like no one talked about the regular Note 10. I didn't see any video on the regular Note 10 at all. Everyone just got the Note 10 Plus, or if there were videos on the Note 10, it was alongside the Note 10 Plus, which makes sense, right? You want to review both of them at the same time, you may as well just do that. And honestly, it's like, for me, the Note 10 is still a really good buy. Especially if you don't really care about, all the stuff that the Note 20 will have. And there's like really conflicting rumors where the Note 20 will have, the base Note 20 will just be a 1080p display with no 90 or 120 hertz capabilities. Like, there's a lot of weird stuff that I don't get. And it feels like they're just going to have the same philosophy with the regular Note 20 that they did with the regular Note 10, which I don't like. It sounded like it's going to have a 4,000 something milliamp hour battery as well. There's a lot of things that I just don't get Samsung doing. Like, if the base S20 has a Quad HD display, why can't the base Note 10 have a Quad or base Note 20 have a Quad HD display? Same with like from the S10 to the regular S20, right? The regular S10 had a Quad HD display. Why does the regular Note 10 not have it? It's like, it just doesn't make sense to me, man. But whatever. Let me talk about more of the stuff that I really do like. The haptics on this phone are really good. It's something that I feel is understated in a lot of reviews. They don't talk about that unless the haptics are really crap, which I understand. Like, for me, it's something that is indeed appreciated when a company acknowledges that haptics are important. Unlike Apple, which say, oh, the haptic feedback is important, but you don't have it on, say, your keyboard, which is kind of weird, in my opinion. The selfie camera is also pretty good. Like, I haven't used it that much, but the times I did use it to, like, say, send selfies to my girlfriend or stuff like that, it was fine. Like, I'm not a selfie taking person, so don't take my word as the gospel on that. But I think it's totally serviceable for stuff like that, or video calls and all that stuff. It can do 4K 60 frames per second, 60 FPS recording on the front camera as well, so that's really nice. It also doesn't have stabilization. Honestly, it's like, yeah, let's talk about photos. God, I'm sorry. The photos on here are really good. I do have the issue, and I don't know why I turned off my V60, but I have the issue with Samsung cameras, and I've had this since like the Note 5 when I actually started using Samsung cameras to, take pictures. So let me Look at this, right? The PlayStation banner that's right there. The letters look a bit like they're not legible, and they're not legible in like not a satisfying way. So let me turn my V60 back on. I don't know why, but my Wi-Fi just boots my V60 off the network. I don't get it. It doesn't do that at my apartment, but it does it here at my mom's house. So yeah, let me talk about this here. And I really noticed it with this picture where it's like, it just isn't legible. And at least the V60 boots up fast now too. So this is not going to be a bad thing. This is not going to be a hard thing to do. Hurry up. And let me get to this. Where is it at? Zero suit. What was this one? Sorry, I took a whole bunch of pictures yesterday. So, as you guys can see, the PlayStation logo is blurred out, but it doesn't look like it's chopped up. Whereas on here, it looks a bit chopped up. It doesn't look like it's any letters at all, really. And that's kind of weird. There is a bit like an issue with like, there's some over sharpening on here. As you guys can see, there's like, you probably can't see all that well, but come on. You could see dust particles and stuff like that, which is cool, but I don't necessarily need all that. And you can kind of see it as well on the V60. Honestly, didn't notice that, but I feel like Samsung does a little bit too much over sharpening sometimes too. It's kind of akin to like, say, old LG phones where LG would just over sharpen an image for no real reason. And it was just like, okay, LG, you didn't really have to do that. But yeah, it's like, there's certain things about this camera that are like a bit finicky. Like that looked a bit portrait mode like and not really, you know, natural bokeh coming from the sensor and stuff like that. So it looked a bit off to me personally, but that may be satisfying to some people. And I totally get that. Right. Low light performance is also really good. Like 16 megapixel f1.5 lens. Sorry, it's hard for me to see when I have the, let me find the picture. It's right there. Sorry, I have it at. So as you guys can see, the bokeh is really nice. The only real problem I have with it is that you lose detail in the leaf itself, really. Like, look at that. There's a little bit of fringing right there. And you get a good amount of like background blur. And let me also compare it again to the V60. Yeah. The V60 also kind of did that with one photo. I think it's because it was also raining. So it was messing with the sensor. But as you guys can see, I need to turn the fucking setting to keep the display on for more than 30 seconds. And I'll have these photos in the video just so you guys can see it better too. But you could zoom in more, obviously. The background blur is like more satisfying on the V60. There's just a lot of things where I feel like the Note tries to overcompensate for a lot of stuff, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but let me go to like this. This was not how the scene looked at all. Like, it looks like there's still some sun right there, right? So let me, yet again, go to the V60 and show you guys that it looked similar. I don't know why I thought they looked more different than that. I think the problem is like it's so jarring. It's so jarring on the like Note 10 to see like in the viewfinder, the photo looks one way, right? The way the photo looks is one way, whereas the moment you take the photo, it's a whole. It looks nearly completely different. It's weird, and it's like something that I've always noticed with like Samsung phones is that now it's a different issue because like with the Note like 5 and 8, it was like, okay, there was a lot of grain in a photo or something like that. Say if I take a nighttime photo, but then when I look inside the camera app itself in the gallery, there was no grain. It's very weird, man. And that's not a bad thing. It's just I wish they would show me in the viewfinder what the photo would look like rather than just waiting and then take a picture. Oh, this looks like ass, like stuff like that, right? But yeah, overall though, the camera is still really good. I don't think it's bad at all. Like I think it's still a quality sensor, and that's something that I don't really use the telephoto lens. Another thing is that the telephoto won't always be used. Say if it's covered or it's too dark outside or something, it'll just switch to the main sensor. It's like the why have the telephoto lens then? And that's why I appreciate what LG did, where they just had the 64, where they just have the 64 megapixel sensor, and you can zoom and crop in, and honestly, it looks as good. It doesn't look like better. No, some photos definitely do look better, but it's kind of like on the V60, it'll look good on one photo. On the Note, it'll look good on another photo. It just does that. And, for me, that's totally fine. I didn't expect it to be better because at the end of the day, you're using one sensor to do two different focal lengths and go to 10x zoom. So it makes sense that it's not going to be way better, but, it's whatever, right? Yeah, yeah. Other than like on the camera, that's it though. Nothing is like the worst. Nothing is the worst when it comes to that. So yeah, I just wanted to bring that up. Next, what else? The battery life on here is good. It's like I could get 5 hours of screen on time on it, which for me is totally fine. You got to keep in mind I have like 3, 4, 5 phones, so I use them all for different things. And for the Note, it's my other media device. Like I use my V60 mainly, but my Note will also be the phone I watch YouTube on and stuff like that. So it's very nice for that. The speakers are still quality; they're top notch. I think the V60 definitely does better in some aspects, but in terms of like the speakers and stuff like that. But overall, I still think the Note sounds good, really good in terms of that. No headphone jack is. I guess I'll just get into the dislikes now. The dislikes I have, no headphone jack. Like the headphone jack to me is something that just needs to come back. I'm glad to see that Sony is bringing it back. I'm glad to see that other companies are starting to come back to the headphone jack. Like Motorola brought it back in their flagship, and it's like, finally, you guys are realizing that this is just dumb. Like, why expect people to pay more for a phone, but for less features? It's like that's my whole thing, right? And it's just nice to see that. And LG championed it for a while, right? They're like, no, if we're gonna have a headphone jack in there, we're gonna have the best headphone jack you can get on a phone. So, and it rivals dedicated DAPs in certain price ranges and stuff like that. So yeah, it's very nice. I do wish, well, not very nice in terms of the Note. I wish they kept it, and I wish they put better earphones in the box that weren't just like these slightly like basically the same ones you got with like the Note 8 and stuff like that. The only difference is it terminates in USB-C and they come with firmware updates and stuff like that when you plug them into the phone. That's all that's really different. And it's like, they don't sound that great. And it's like, it's just something that I don't understand. Like, you bundle them with the price of this phone, but they sound mediocre. And it's just whack. But yeah, the mics on here are also really good in terms of like video. I did want to touch up on that, but the negative that also comes with that is that you don't have any sort of like mic directing features when it comes to, like, say, the pro video mode, like I stated earlier. At least have that, and I would be fine with it, right? I'd be cool. It would be nice, but it doesn't have that. Battery, while being good, it's also very sporadic, and and the fingerprint sensor, while it is very good now, and it actually has gotten better over time. I still would use my V60 or my 6T when it comes to that more, solely due to the fact that Samsung's like the screen, like the proximity sensor game to me has always been off. Like it almost never works. When I'm at work and I'm like walking, the phone will just be on in my pocket, right? Not on in my pocket, but it'll be trying to scan my thigh as a fingerprint. Whereas, watch this. I cover the V60's, proximity sensor, and the screen goes off. I cover it again. Fingerprint operation disabled. You don't get that sort of message on here. And as you guys can see, it was still on. Like, it was just dimmed. What? It was just dimmed. And yesterday when I came, because I brought it from work, I brought it to work solely so I can take pictures and compare it to the V60, right? The fingerprint sensor still goes off in your pocket, and it still tries to scan. Because when I tried to go on my phone, when I tried to go on my note, it was like, in fingerprint authentication disabled, put in your passcode. And, just do that. But it's the point of, I shouldn't have to do that, right? And that's why I still prefer rear mounted fingerprint sensors, because they're just better. They don't do that. And, it's just something that I wish that we didn't go away from, because I personally think it's stupid. But yeah, that's the negative in terms of that. Next time around, Samsung, please make your proximity sensors good. Oh, sorry. I need water. Yeah. So it's like, overall though, the positives do outweigh the negatives. And I don't think this is a bad phone at all. I would still recommend people get it, especially aftermarket. I think I see this phone for maybe $300-400, and that's a far cry from what it used to be. And for 256 gigs of internal storage, that's really nice. And I did factory reset this because I thought that would at least help with the battery issues, but it didn't. So I didn't lose all the pictures. They're probably they're most likely in my Google Photos, but I took a lot of pictures that are no longer on there. So that sucks, but what can you do? That's all I really want to say though. Like, the Note 10, the regular Note 10 to me is still a nice phone. I don't necessarily think it's as bad as I thought it would be, but it's not bad as I thought it would be. As disappointing as I thought it would become for me, it definitely is. It's definitely satisfied my expectations, and that's something that I do indeed want to let you guys know, right? The Note 10, like the Note to me, while it's not nearly, it is near the same pedestal as a V series phone. For me personally, it's just not a phone where I the Note 10 is just not a phone where I see myself coming back to a lot. I come back to my 6T. I come back to my G8. I come back to my V20, right? Well, mainly I come back to the V20 for the IR blaster. But there's a lot of things that I just wish the Note still, where the Note exceeded other phones. Like, the Note doesn't exceed the phones that exceed in certain areas with the phones that it competed with. It didn't decimate them. It was like, okay, maybe marginally better for this thing, but it's not like a deal breaker on this phone. It's still really good, right? That's what I've always felt about the Note 10. It's honestly what I felt about the Note 8 too. But everybody has to suck off Samsung, huh? But yeah, that's all I wanted to say for this video. This is Sparty. Thank you guys for watching and support. Let me know in the comment section below if you have the Note 10. Has it been working well for you? Let me know in the comment section below. Have a wonderful Sunday, whatever time of day it is in your area. Have a good one.